You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I am your host, Steph. Joining me to talk about this game that we just watched is Johnny Dells. Johnny, man, I wish I can give you a hug through this screen, man. I can just hug like any 49er fan I come across right this second because the 49ers.
Air high fives.
Yeah, air high fives, air hugs. The 49ers are headed to the Super Bowl once again. Woo! Take it in, people. Take it in. I know the chat is going crazy and for good reason. We're going to try to keep up with all of you today, but we got to talk about this crazy game. We have to. And Johnny, thank you so much for joining me for the show today. This was not how I expected this game to go. I will tell you, Johnny, I felt pretty confident going into this one. I even said I felt more confident about this game than I did last year's NFC Championship game. And then the 49ers got punched in the mouth really early. The run defense was horrible in the first half. I saw many posts saying Steve Wilks may not survive this offseason. And in the second half, first, let's talk about the first half. So first half, 148 rushing yards allowed. Second half, 34 rushing yards allowed. 24 points allowed in the first half, 7 points in the second half, and those 7 points came late in the fourth quarter. Wow, Johnny, what can you say about how this game went down?
I mean, what do you say after a game like this? It was one of those. I was texting people, so many people, and like at one point, I tweeted it out. I did not believe that we were going to win. I will be honest. I was a doubting faithful at that time, and I asked for forgiveness before the throngs of faithful. And look, it's the PTSD is that we've been down this road. We have been on the other end of these games. We've been the team that had the lead and could not make the plays when they mattered most. That we would throw the game away, sometimes literally drop the game away. And to sit here and be on this side of it, it feels great. It feels like, look, for so many years, we watched Russell Wilson burn us, and we would sit there and go, they get so freaking lucky. So I don't want to hear anybody talk about this game about we got lucky in there. Look, we were on the receiving end of that for years. I don't want to hear that. I never want to hear anybody say any freaking thing about Brock Purdy being a game manager, being a system quarterback, being a guy that's carried by his team. What more is anybody going to want to hear?
Let's go. Let's hear it for Brock Purdy. Purdy.
What more is anybody want to hear or see? I mean, come on. Like they said he couldn't win a game if he played bad on the front end, and then and even if he, they wanted to see him do a game-winning drive or something on a game that he played terrible. He did that, and then they said, no, we need a game when the running game isn't there, and they take away Debo, and they take away some of these weapons, and his defense isn't playing fantastic. Can he still win? Well, you know what? Did it again. So, look, this was a game when I did a scouting video, and the thing I spent the most time talking about was how you had to stop this Lions run game because it was so horizontal. It was so horizontal, and we saw that in this game. How many runs were you seeing where guys would get to the edge and they'd still get 6 yards? And it spreads you out so much, and they attack you in every single lane. I was like, you have to condense the edges. You have to do things. And look, I will say they've got to figure out how to stop that crack toss. Sometimes it's called pin and pull, but it's a crack toss where you crack down on the edge, and people are getting after our DNs on that. Like, oh man, that's our DNs. No, when that happens, there has to be a replace player. When that crack comes down, so what's supposed to happen is, one, the outside guys need to alert the DNs, say alert crack, to let them know it's the receiver is in a position to crack them. Two, once that receiver comes down on a crack, there has to be a replace up into that force and edge spot. And we have not been doing that. And our safeties have not been tackling. Tayshaun Gibson missed like 4 big tackles in this game.
Early in the
But
game, yeah. And Chase Young,
yeah,
for a second, I know we're very elated right now, and shout out all the people in the chat and all the people dropping the super chats. Really excited about this moment. But holy cow, Chase Young, man, in the first half was driving me nuts because he drove me nuts last game against the Packers as well. And in the first half, I didn't see any improvement from him in particular. I know you mentioned Tayshaun Gibson as well. Yeah, I felt like all across the board, it was this exact same defense we saw against the Packers early on in that game. And so I don't know what's going on. And they seem to make an adjustment at halftime, but why can't they like string together some good play to start the game? Because I know damn well you're not going to get away with this against the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
yeah. I mean, and oh, yeah. I mean that's a bridge we'll have to cross down the road. But I mean, look,
Not to get too ahead of ourselves.
the defense they played terrible. But look, Dan Campbell, one of the most aggressive coaches in the league, dude left 6 points out on the field. They lost by 3. I mean, now Moody gave him 3 as well. But it's a game that I'm sitting here going, we're watching the birth of a legend on our team right now. I mean, we keep wanting to, at least for me, I want to pump the brakes as far as, calling things legendary. But look, the playoffs is where football legends are made. And we've seen 2 games from Brock Purdy where he's done exactly what we always wished we had, right? We wished we had that guy who could make some plays with his legs. We wished we had that guy who could avoid some sacks and make a play or turn something that was going to be a negative into at least a positive play. We wish we had a guy who was calm and cool and collected and could do everything. And you know what? Our guy did not look like everybody else's guy. He didn't. We got him in the last pick of the draft. But I think there was a poetic, symmetry there with at the George Halas Trophy with Joe Montana handing that George Halas Trophy to the team, because it just feels like we're watching the birth of our generation's Joe Montana. And again, I hate saying that, it's so early in his career, but look, Brock Purdy now has more playoff wins than Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson combined.
I mean, we just saw Lamar Jackson stink it up earlier today, and there were some plays that he probably could have made with his legs, but he just didn't, and he was always looking for the deep shot downfield, and it wasn't there. I think what Brock Purdy learned between even just the game against the Ravens on Christmas and even the game last week against the Packers till now is that I think he's just taking what the defense gives him, right? And he's said that, like, I need to do better at that. And I think when those rushing lanes were there for him and he didn't find anyone open, he didn't hesitate. And not only did he not hesitate, but I mean, the Lions gave him a lot of room to run, and he took every bit of it as much as he could. A couple of times I was a little nervous because I was like, Brock, just slide. I mean, you got the first down, man. But, that's just what separates Brock Purdy from a lot of like different quarterbacks. And I think you're right. Like, it's crazy to see. We might be seeing a legend in the making, right? Like Brock just has this like little it factor to him that when it comes down to it, when the game or when the 49ers need him most, like, he will come through. And I think that's so important. I mean, he threw a pick in this game. He did. I mean, we talked about the Jake Moody miss early in the game. There was a lot of things that for the 49ers just weren't going right in that first half. And it just felt like, yeah, Brock Purdy, kind of did what he needed to do. But as a collective, this entire team did what they needed to do as well. And I think that was really great to see. It's not often that a team pulls off 2 comebacks in a row in the playoffs, right? Like, I was completely prepared for it to not go the 49ers' way this time, but it did. They really rallied there at the end.
Yeah. I mean, in a strange way, I don't know if I may feel more confident coming out of this game than I did in 2019. Because the
Wow.
2019 playoffs, if you think about it, as far as 2019 playoffs, we rolled both teams. Our quarterback only threw 8 and 9 passes in those games. And
True.
so there was this concern of, if we can't run the ball, can we win this game? And Jimmy was like, what, 18 of 22 or something like that in the first half, and he was like 10 yards per attempt, and then in the second half just melted away, and the entire team just melted around him. It was like nobody could make a play, and they could feel that from the quarterback through everybody. And here I'm like, we may not be the team that we were in 2019, but we can beat anybody. We can make the plays when we need to. We can be that team that's down 4 points in the fourth quarter, and we can win this game. We can be the team I mean, it's you feel like if this game does get ugly, that you can still win. Whereas that 2019 team, we sat there and we said, if this game starts to get ugly and we can't run the ball and we have to get away, we're done. It's over. The Super Bowl's gone. And that's exactly what happened. Here it starts to feel like, you know what? This may not go perfect, and Mahomes will make some plays. That's going to be okay, because we got something on the other side that we can match at this point. I mean, in that sense, I feel way more confident in our quarterback this time around.
Yes,
Is really what it
absolutely.
is. You
Absolutely.
you feel you feel like we have a guy that is just as rock solid as it is, and like you said, throws the pick. They're not playing well. They're down 24-7, never hesitates. I mean, yeah, we got real lucky on that 52-yard throw to Ayuk. But Brock Purdy wasn't scared to make the throw. He took the shot. And he made plays with his legs. I mean, this is wild. Is wild. I don't know. I mean, outside of maybe the 2012 NFC Championship game, how that one went, like, we've ever seen something really like this as a 49ers fan in the playoffs. I mean, we're sitting here. This was what, our seventh trip to the NFC Championship game since 2011, and this one had to have been the most wild, because I felt like, I think with the 2012, looking back on it, there were so many self-inflicted wounds on the offensive side in that game, and it it felt so different. And then that offense just became really explosive. This was a grimy fight for everything you got. Make every last play. I mean, I remember at one point I turned to my wife. It was the one-handed catch by Jennings when Brock Purdy's
Yeah, that
rolling
was
out and he
big.
throws it, and
That
it's
was
just that,
big.
reaching up. I turned to her and I said, because she was like, "Well, look, that was a good play. Why don't?" And I said, because I was in a bad mood. I was not doing well, and I said, "Yeah, but I mean, we can't consistently get yards and make plays. We're not winning this game, trying to have that as our mode of operation." But I was wrong, and made plays when it happened. Brock Purdy running for first downs. I mean, come on.
How are they gonna move the goalpost this time, right? Like, what was it last week, right? Oh, well, I wasn't impressed by him coming back from 4 points. Let's see him come back from 10 points. Brock Purdy said, all right, bet. How's 17? How is 17 points? Is that good enough for all of you? He is going to the Super Bowl. He's only 23 years old. He's going to the Super Bowl. You can say that the difference between the past 49ers teams till now is Brock Purdy. I mean, you kind of said it, like, you feeling more confident about this 49ers team now than that time because of Brock alone. Hey, a guy like CMC does help as well. I mean, he did carry the team to 2 touchdowns as well. He had 90 yards. Brock Purdy, 48 rushing yards. How about that? 48 rushing yards. He had a long of 21, 267 yards passing, 8.6 average per attempt, or per catch, I should say. But wow, that is big for this team to have guys who can come up in big moments. There were a few times in the game where they kind of had to give it to certain guys that they felt could carry the game. Like there were some spurts where they gave it to Christian McCaffrey. He carried the ball like he had the ball 5 times in an 8-play touchdown drive. I believe that was like after halftime, or I don't remember. But anyway, I mean, they carried him there. And then Brock Purdy, carrying the team with his legs. And then there's a drive with Debo Samuel having the ball a few times. I do want to ask you about this, Johnny. You mentioned like Dan Campbell kind of being maybe over aggressive at times, and we kind of knew that's what they were going to try to do in this game. That's what they've done all season. Why would they stray away from it now? And it hurt him a couple of times in this one. There were 2 turnover on downs, if I'm not mistaken. Kyle Shanahan maybe like still conservative. We saw him go for the field goal early in the game. That was the one that Jake Moody missed. And so when you look at both sides of like how a team can be coached, very like maybe somewhat conservative and careful versus over aggressiveness, I don't even know if this game told me like which is right or wrong because it went wrong for both teams. It just so happened that Dan Campbell, it happened twice.
I think what this game really teaches you is both ways have their merits. But in the end, when it's games at this point in the year, you got to have a quarterback who's going to make some plays. And I've been one who's been a little bit slow to adopt that at times, just because I'm so ingrained in the scheme, and it's about, okay, you got to execute. But look, having a guy that can stay cool under pressure, have no fear, be able to do what needs to be done, and just have that innate ability to react and do that. That's where legends are born, and you see why. And I mean, Patrick Mahomes is headed to his 4th Super Bowl now, and there's a reason why, because he makes plays on the regular, like what we saw from Brock Purdy tonight. I mean, where the avoiding the sack and getting out there and hitting Juszczyk for a first down. I mean,
That was
that's
huge.
that's the stuff you see from a guy who has multiple Super Bowls. I mean, like, and we
I don't know if we is my Wi-Fi. How's my Wi-Fi doing right now? Okay, it's Johnny. I thought it was me because I've been having I've been having internet issues for the past week. Some of you guys may know. But we lost Johnny for a second. So we're gonna give him a second to come back in. I thought it was me. That's why I like paused for a second. I was like, oh God, it's my internet again. Um, yeah, thank you. Okay. He'll come back. We're gonna give him a second here. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is crazy. I just saw a tweet from Nick Wagner that said the 49ers remain undefeated when they've scored more than 20 points in a game this season. 14-0 when scoring 21 or more points. I mean, that's huge for this team. Kyle Shanahan now 8-3 in the postseason. That's big. I know during this game, there was a lot of talk of what's going to happen with Kyle Shanahan's legacy. What's going to happen with Kyle if he does not win this game? If the 49ers came all this way just to lose again, right? And again, like maybe some of that talk was premature, but I mean, people's minds go there when the team was losing as bad as they did. Shout out my cousin Monica. She says, first drink on me. Steph killed it with the content this year. Only right you get to top it off with a Super Bowl. And with that, I mean, I guess I'll say I have my flight purchased for Vegas. Don't know if I'll be in the building. I highly doubt it because the ticket prices are crazy, but I will be in Vegas. When the 49ers are at the Super Bowl. So all they need to do is get that number 6. That's all they need to do. Thank you, Monica. Appreciate the love. Thank you, Weston. Weston going to be doing a live with him tomorrow to talk about this game. Let's see. Yeah, Johnny said he's having connection issues. He's going to try to get back. But man, this is just huge. I mean, this was not how I was expecting this game to go. Really, the second game in a row that I've kind of felt like, who the 49ers probably not going to squeak this one out, but they do it a second time in a row. We got Johnny back in the house. What's up, Johnny? For a sec, you had me going there. You had me going in the first half. Not gonna lie, because I thought it was my internet that was crapping out as it has this week. But glad you're back.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
finished your
I don't
thought.
know what happened. Yeah, I don't know where I went down, because I was on a hard line fiber optic connection. It looks like there's an area outage for me. I guess all the Niner fans in Alabama are crashing the internet. So thank goodness
Could
for
be.
the mobile hotspot. Um, but no, I forgot where I was. I was just saying, look, Brock Purdy, he led us down there. He led us through this game. I mean, I'm kind of in shock of how that game went. Like I did not I think I was getting to a point because I knew I was coming on this show and I'm like, I'm such a sour loser. Like I am a really, really sour person when we lose. And everything. Um and so I was like trying to mentally prepare myself for having to talk about the crap show of game that we were having
Yeah.
and the questions that we now have for the offseason, the the concerns we have about Kyle Shanahan, all this stuff. I was like trying to mentally prepare myself, and I was like, I don't want to believe we can win. And we came out at a halftime, kicked the field goal. I'm like, whatever. We're down 14 points. They're going to go down and make it a 21-point game. Whatever. And then was it on the next drive? They fumble the ball. And
Yeah.
we turn around and score, and it's a 7-point game. I'm like, you know what? I still don't want to believe. I don't want my heart broken again. Don't give me hope to take it away. I think I put that on Twitter. I was like, don't make me hope to not shit for me. I'm too hurt by that. Um, and so it's just I'm still in a state of shock of like how that game went. And I mean, what better way for this game to have gone than for Journey to come out and sing "Don't Stop Believing." I mean, come on. People were mad about it on Twitter. I was seeing it like, this is they better not. They did. They did. They sang "Don't Stop Believing." Get out of here with that mess. Like people were mad
We didn't
about
want to
it.
hear it at that time. We just did
No.
not want to hear it.
And yeah, so the fact that they were able to come back, I mean, do what they did. And yeah, my wife's in the chat. She says that it seems like the internet in our town has gone down.
Oh,
Everybody's
geez.
celebrating too hard for the 49ers. That's the way it is.
I feel it. I'm sure the Bay Area is going crazy right now.
Oh
Levi's
my
was
gosh.
rocking today, despite there being a large contingent of Lions fans. Which shout out to Lions fans because, like, I mean, they've been riding for this team this season. They took the garbage bags or the lunch bags off of their face, and they've been riding for this team. They had something good going this year, and so I don't know. Sorry it had to end this way, but I guess better luck next year for them.
Well,
But
I
yeah, I
mean,
mean,
yeah, you know that Detroit fans were knowing this was a once in a lifetime opportunity. I mean, literally,
yeah,
most of
can't
them are
fault
sitting
them.
here saying, I will probably never see this again in my lifetime, so better go to
Sad.
one now.
It's sad, but it's true. It is true for them. So shout out to the ones that showed up and the ones that stayed till the very end. But yeah, I mean, Levi's did their thing, and in really all of the 49ers playoff games that they had, the two that they had, I mean, I felt like Levi's turned up. So shout out to everyone that was out there. I hope, some of you are planning to make the trip out to Vegas as well and maybe get some Super Bowl tickets. I don't know. Not making any financial advice here, but it's going to be a hell of a 2 weeks for this team.
I mean, we, it's us and the Chiefs. That's who all people are talking about for the next 2 weeks. I mean, we're one of two teams that are still playing that is not in the middle of their offseason right now. That's something to think about and something to appreciate. I mean, look, this is the third Super Bowl we're going to in the last 11 years. Need to close it. They hurt when you don't. Um, but I mean, it's something special to each year. And let's really give some props here to Kyle Shanahan and what they have done. I mean, come on, 4 NFC Championship trips in 5 years, 2 Super Bowl appearances. Until he gets one, he's going to be this generation's Andy Reid. But I mean, come on, he's got his quarterback. Let's go. That's all I can say right now. Like, let's go do it.
And I know, Lions have Ben Johnson, who has been awesome for them this season, their offensive coordinator. He's getting a lot of interest for head coaching jobs, as he should. He's probably going to be leaving to another team at this point. Probably fair to assume that the Lions will have to, find a better or as good offensive coordinator to be back at this spot next year. Not that it can't be done. And you know why? Because Kyle Shanahan has done it before. I mean, he has been able to find offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, guys who can come in, assistants, what have you, guys in the front office who can come in and just like not miss a beat so many times. So I think Kyle Shanahan deserves a lot of credit for that too, because I think there's a lot of times that we've sat here and have been like, oh no, the 49ers lost and they're going to lose this assistant or this coach. What are we going to do? And look, they're back in the Super Bowl. So that's a testament to how this team has kind of been built from the ground up as far as coaching players, all of this. It's been really impressive and really nice to watch.
I mean, you look at the overhaul of the team from 2019 to now. You're looking at only 9 players are returning from that team. 9 out of the 53. And that is a complete roster overhaul. When you start looking at the coaching changes that have happened, then we're on our second defensive coordinator since then. We've lost defensive coaches. We lost our linebackers coach. We've lost our offensive coordinator. We've lost guys. We've lost quarterback coaches. We lost tight end coaches. We lost wide receiver coaches. I mean, the staff has been gutted by prospective teams looking to turn things around and bring that 49ers culture there. That's a beautiful picture. They're looking to, are doing that. They're poaching the 49ers as offensive staff. They're poaching their free agents. And they're poaching their front office staff. And here they are 5 years later after losing how many executives now, how many coaches, how many players, and they're still, they're going back to the Super Bowl. This is, I mean, why this isn't a bigger story in the NFL, I don't know. Because if this happens for any other organization, it seems like when Sean McVay's staff, when a bunch of them start leaving and people are interested in that, it's always, they're trying to bring that Sean McVay system and spread it around the league. And they're trying to do this, recreate what Sean McVay has done there in LA. What I'm seeing is far more people are trying to recreate what Kyle Shanahan does. I mean, that run game for the Lions, that is the 49ers run game. They literally were running our run game at us the entire time. And you also see how frustrating it is for other teams to try and stop so much of this stuff. But I mean, look, Brock Purdy, apparently now, there's going to be 6 terrific quarterbacks watching Brock Purdy play in the Super Bowl. That's just a fascinating thing to me.
Yeah, remember when Brock Purdy was left off of the, great quarterbacks or whatever word, was used to describe the quarterbacks that were in the playoffs? Brock Purdy was left off of the list entirely, and yet he's one of 2 guys with Patrick Mahomes who is left. So you tell me what that says about Brock Purdy and this 49ers team. Look, before we head out of here, I do want to ask you though, just quick thoughts on this like Chiefs game and how the 49ers match up with it. You talked about how this Lions team, their run game was so deadly. Like, I mean, it really was. And that's part of the reason it gave the 49ers defense problems early in that game. They were able to stop it in the second half. Now, you see Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, he's a dog too. He's a beast. He runs hard every single play. And he's kind of become a multifaceted player for them too. He catches balls out of the backfield as well. So seeing that, I mean, like, how are you looking at this Chiefs team now? Because they're constructed slightly differently than they were back then. I mean, so are the 49ers, right?
Yeah, I mean, you look at this Chiefs team though, and you say this is not the same Chiefs team. They are very different now. Steve Spagnuolo, the thing about him that is just driving me insane with this team is that it seems like every year into December and January, that defense will be middle of the road, just kind of for the first 3 months, and the last 2 months of the season that defense ascends and by the time of the playoffs becomes one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, it's just it drives you nuts. Like how do they keep doing that? Um that being said, the Lions matched up against us perfectly because they were a team that could run the ball really well, really, really well. Now, understand, like the Chiefs have been better at running the ball this year, and I'm not saying they're bad at it. They are not the Lions. The Lions were as close to balanced as the 49ers are. So the Lions had, I think it was 600 passes, 500 runs this year. Now, that being said, they had a whole ton of passes that what we saw today were these swing passes, screen passes, which are an extension of the run game. The Lions were about as 50-50 run pass as it gets in this league. The 49ers were the most 50-50 because I think we had like it was two plays different. I think it was the amount of runs. I think we had two more runs than we had passing attempts. And so when you look at a team if they were on their juice, they could match up against the 49ers perfectly in that they could stop the run, they could run the ball. That's what would be the ideal thing of matching up against the 49ers. Now they had the 28th ranked passing defense, but we're not a big passing team. I mean, our passing game is very much predicated off of our run game. We don't have a lot of guys that are just going to win against really good man coverage all the time. Honestly, I feel like the Chiefs defense does not match up as well as the Detroit defense did. I think I don't think their front seven is as stout as Detroit's is, and I think their offensive line doesn't match up as well. Now, it's going to be a tough challenge, but I actually like the matchup of 52 players against Detroit better. I don't like the matchup against Mahomes more than I do at Jared Goff. Uh, I mean, look, Jared Goff got traded away from LA for a reason.
Now, so this comment's interesting, right? Because I did point out that the Lions had 34 rushing yards in the second half compared to 148 in the first. Now, do you kind of see it as the 49ers made some adjustments, or do you see it as like the Lions just abandoned the run after a certain point?
Was that they stopped being able to convert third downs. I mean, that's really what it was. When you look at that first half, the 49ers had five
It was
third downs
atrocious.
where it was 3rd and 9 or
It
longer
was disgusting.
that they allowed the Lions to convert. And after that, then you saw big runs. It's exactly the same thing we saw in San Francisco for so many years when people would say, look, our we're carried by our run game, and we would say, yeah, but your quarterback still has to convert third downs to be able to get those explosive runs. Well, that's exactly what you were seeing with the Lions, is that they were converting enough third downs that they kept getting opportunities and chances to pound the rock, and they gash you. And that's what we were seeing in the second half. Suddenly you're getting him off the field on third downs. And while that was maybe drop passes or, rattling off enough to where he was a little bit inaccurate, whatever the reason, you started to be able to get them off the field on third downs. And suddenly now they can't lean into that run game. And now their defense is reeling, and they're the ones that are staying on the field the whole time. So much of this game, we say momentum, but there's a lot of it of just pure energy that comes from your defense having to be on the field, getting tired, getting emotionally tired, getting mentally tired from having to focus in and fight this chess match where so many different things can come at them. They start slowing down their reaction times because they're getting hit this way and that way and that way and everything. Because remember, they don't know what the offense is trying to do. The ball goes where the offense decides it wants to go. And the defense is trying to figure that out after the fact. So as you're having to do that 28, 30 times in a quarter, you really start to wear down. And your defense gets a chance to rest, and they get a chance to be more fresh and mentally recover and mentally talk about everything, sit on the sideline a little bit longer, look at the stills between series. So, I think that was really what the difference was, is that you started seeing one team was converting third downs and the other one wasn't.
Yeah, and at the end of the game, both teams were 6 and 12 on third downs, but it definitely felt like there was a flip in that in the first half. Maybe the 49ers didn't have as much success, but the Lions definitely did. You mentioned the third and longs. Just to talk about that for a second, the 49ers in the first half gave up conversions of third and 9, third and 10, third and 12, third and 18. Like, that is inexcusable. And to go back to the question of, well, was it the Lions kind of uh stop stopping their own run and kind of panicking, or was it the 49ers making adjustments? I think it was a little of both, because I did see in the second half the defense was starting to swarm a little bit. They looked a little bit more like the defense we've come to know, and they were a little more aggressive in stopping the run. I questioned the effort of some guys in the first half, and I think in the second half they really were on it, and I saw the effort was there. So if the effort is there in the Super Bowl for all 4 quarters, yeah, I'm gonna feel pretty good about it. But I guess we just don't really know what team is gonna show up for that. But man, I mean, I'm definitely excited. I think these last 2 games, we've learned a lot about this 49ers team that we hadn't learned at all. Like, during the regular season, we're seeing some new wrinkles in this 49ers team. And I think the callus they're growing, or whatever it's called, the scars, I don't know. I think it's benefiting this team for this little stretch run here.
Yeah, absolutely. This starts feeling like and I only know this season from going back and watching it as a much older person, but the 88 season, of the way that the team, at least the playoffs for the 88 season, of that the team just had a magic there. It's not dominant like the 89 season was. It started to feel like that was our team for a lot of this season, right? When you're winning by an average of 19 points a game on all these, it's easy and it's great and it's fun and we love it. And you're putting in Sam Darnold every other game, and it's fantastic. Now, these games, it was like, what in the world? We're gonna lose. Our season's over. But you know what? We get more weeks 2 more weeks of 49ers football. I love it.
Let's go. And, you mentioned earlier that there's only 9 guys from that 2019 Super Bowl team. One of those guys is George Kittle. And as he was famously seen saying, I'll be back here. I'll be back. He's going back to the Super Bowl.
Against the
So
same team. Yeah.
against the
I mean,
same team, no less. I mean, you really, I guess, like, if there are script writers, you really couldn't have written a better script than this for 49ers fans.
yeah. And look, NFL script not confirmed. I mean, right? People were swearing it was the Super Bowl logo. It was
It's
gonna
true.
be that.
True.
And we were shook at one point. Like, let's be real. Like, it was sitting there like, okay, it's gonna be Chiefs and Lions, neither color, or like just the Chiefs were the red in the sunset. So yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. I love it. I love it.
Yes, definitely love it. Shout out RJ. He says he wants to give me a shout out for the amazing coverage this year. Yeah, thank you, RJ. Really appreciate that. And the coverage isn't over for me and Johnny. We're definitely going to have more content to come leading up to this Super Bowl run. The both of us are going to be at the Senior Bowl this upcoming week. So make sure you guys keep it locked on our channels like you guys always do. Make sure you guys like this video if you haven't yet. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, not just mine, Steph 49K, but Johnny Dell Football Academy as well. And I mean, with that, I think we're just gonna sleep really good tonight, and we're gonna have a blast for the
Whenever
rest
we
of
can
this
go to
week.
sleep. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
whenever we can go
exactly.
to sleep, we'll sleep all right.
I know.
Oh,
I'm gonna be scrolling Twitter. Whatever the opposite of doom scrolling is, that's what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna be smiling at my phone, looking at Brock Purdy holding up his NFC Championship trophy, and it's gonna be wonderful. But I gotta pack for the Senior Bowl now, so I'm gonna let you guys go. But Johnny, thank you so much for joining me for this post game show. As always, have a good rest of your Sunday night, folks. I know I will. Peace.